brother just told me. Jimmy, why are we laughing so much? How many years, John?
I started teaching Hamlet when Lyndon Johnson was president.
And she says, I met the youthful Lord Paris at Lawrence's cell and gave him what become love I might, not overstepping the bounds of modesty.
No, I already did that with the other
I should
guy.
say not.
Him and Beowulf and.
But you know, when he dies, he's like desperate to be remembered. Tell my story. Remember me.
Should we be doing this? Should we stop right now?
No.
Jay, what did you do in class today? I know you're trying to get your students to read more, and I think a lot of us teachers are trying to get our students to read more. I know that's an emphasis of mine for this year. I'm just kind of overwhelmed by it, but I'm going to put you on the spot. What did you do? What did you do today that you think got your students to read more? What did you do?
I actually chose to slow down. I'm picking a few moments during Hamlet to just stop and look at a small chunk closely and talk with the kids about the chunks. And so today we did To Be or Not to Be, which is in 3-1. And step one was just to acknowledge the fact that every kid knows the line to be or not to be. That is the question. And there's a danger in looking at that speech as an isolated thing. But in reality, it's a young person's introspective thoughts at a moment in time. It isn't an isolated speech. So we actually spent a few minutes listing details of the context of the speech. What's been taken from Hamlet? All the things, right? His father's life, his mother's loyalty, his girlfriend, the loyalty of his friends, his ability to go to college. I mean, I said to kids, imagine one of your parents dies, you don't trust the other one, your friends mostly have abandoned you, and your love interest has been taken away. Oh, by the way, you're not allowed to go to college. How are you doing? Well, how are you doing is you give the To Be or Not to Be speech, right? So we set up the context, and then we read through the speech together, clarifying anything that's a literal obstacle. What is a rub? What is a fartle? What are these words?
Right. Would fartle bear.
Yeah. And then I broke them into groups, and they went through the speech in terms of like how ideas move, how images move, and then is he different at the end than at the beginning? Is hearing himself think transformative? Wow. And you might have to wait a while to know that. But anyway, we talked about that. And then a wonderful kid volunteered, and I sort of directed him. It was like the first half of the speech, we sort of walked through how one might deliver the To Be speech. And like one thing I said is choose victories that excite you, moments where you have something you feel is an insight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we paid attention to how thoughts lead to other thoughts, and how characters, he doesn't go in thinking I am about to give the To Be or Not to Be speech. He goes in wondering, is life worth it? He never says an I or me pronoun. He's not in the speech. He doesn't contemplate suicide personally. He never does. Right.
Interesting. Yeah. And that's a thought none of them ever had.
He ponders the idea of something. He never personalizes it. But anyway, I just wanted them to have the experience of, we looked at a page for an hour, and it's a really, it's famous, and you could argue it's cliche. It's in the pretty much the center of the play, 3-1.
Yeah.
And a bunch of and fascinatingly, in the end of Act 2, he gives his what a rogue and peasant slave am I soliloquy after hearing it and seeing an actor emote over a fictitious character. Yeah. And he basically is saying, why can't I do things? And then the To Be or Not to Be speech is, why can't I do things? It's actually it's important, I think, to look at that speech as a progression from the last thing he was thinking. Yeah. So it was a good conversation. We're by no means done. Their homework tonight was to watch 8 versions of the speech.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 8 versions.
Did they have to find them themselves, or did you provide them?
No. They're all on YouTube. I sent them links.
Yeah.
I put links on Canvas.
Wow.
And so watching 8 versions is probably 20 minits of viewing. And they had to pick the one they think was best, however they define that, and write a paragraph as to why. That's it.
Yeah. All right, I like that. So trying to draw them into reading more by not assigning more pages for them to read or coaching them through, cheerleading them on to get through 20 pages, 30 pages or whatever tonight, but by just drilling in on a small, however many lines is that? How many lines is that? Is that 20 lines? Something like that?
No, it's like 30, 35. But yeah, I mean, just some of them noticed right away, like he seems to, one kid noticed that I said, what are Hamlet's defaults? We all have default settings. I hate computer metaphors, but like we all have habits in our brain. When I get nervous, I do this. When I am excited, I use these terms, the metaphors we use habitually. Yeah. And one kid noticed, like, Hamlet intellectualizes when he gets worried. Like, yes.
All right. Yes. All right. That's gold.
We'll talk about that.
That can get a student through hundreds of pages of reading, looking for a thing they noticed, a pattern that they noticed. And then you start drilling in on that and drawing in and paying attention, and almost sort of tricks them into paying attention, to line for line for line to find it. But it's not a trick. It's real. It's a real question. It's a real, it's connecting with a character's consciousness. And you and I know, they don't know it, but they're connecting with a consciousness they can do that with for the rest of their lives, and it'll pay them back. Jay, that's a good hit. So drilling in as a way to draw students into the consciousness of a character, into the world of the book. Find a passage that you can just spend an hour, today in class on, and see what comes of it. It's a little bit of a risk. It might bomb, but it might not. It might not.
I'm going to do it tomorrow with a different group of guys. I don't know.
See what happens.
But frankly, and you and I have talked about this. One of the criterion for a great book is its capacity to not be exhausted. Like, we weren't done. When the bell rang.
Right.
Because
the bell just rang.
Kids just started to notice, like, this like military image early on. But then later there's like economic imagery, and there's like, it gets like wimpier and safe, and like what's going on there. So they were just starting to wrestle with really cool stuff, and then the bell rang. I mean, how often does that happen, Paul? Right?
Yeah, not enough. Leave them wanting more. That's that's a good principle.
True. Yeah.
So that's good. That gives you something to pick up on, next time. I like it. Draw them in. We're really interested this school year, both Jay and I, on reading more, working to have our students read more, whether that's more pages, which is what I've been going after, or if it's more ideas in fewer pages, which Jay did kind of interestingly today. I think either one is worthwhile. Hey, thanks, Jay.